and welcome to European Foods for our second in a series of panel discussions. And welcome to European Foods for our second in a series of panel discussions that we're hosting as part of the City of Perth's Eat.Drink.Perth Festival of Food and Wine. I'm very pleased to be chairing this session on small bars, because this is a phenomenon or movement that's very close to my heart, particularly. When I was about 16, I remember getting very excited about my future going out to bars and things. And I was living with my parents in Claremont at the time, and very rapidly, 3 of the largest hotels closed around me. The Sterling Highway Hotel, it was called the Coronado at the time, as well as the Swanbourne, and the Shenton Park Hotel became a medical centre and 2 retirement villages, respectively. And you may have heard of Perth's tag as Dullsville. You can imagine how I was feeling, looking toward the future. But now I see this phenomenon of small bars opening up. And of course, because as soon as our culture begins to change, it's important to start to think about what that means for the ways in which people live our everyday lives in this city. What kinds of opportunities are opened up when laws are changed, for instance. This is a really exciting panel to be part of. The way that it'll run is that each of our distinguished panelists will start off by talking for a few minutes about their views on small bars, based on their experiences. And then there'll be some time for questions, which I'll moderate between the panelists. And finally, over to you for questions that you would like to ask of our panelists. First of all, I'd like to introduce Paul Brockschlager, right down the end. Paul is the Deputy CEO of the Australian Hotels Association, which is the peak industry body representing hotels, small bars, suburban pubs, accommodation hotels and resorts, and restaurants. And he's been with the AHA for 12 years. However, before arriving in Perth in 1998, Paul worked in Los Angeles, where he ran beachside cafes, and I understand a very popular celebrity restaurant and bar. Prior to that, Paul worked for Forge, Cone and Belding, which at the time was the largest advertising agency in Los Angeles, and he was educated at Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas, where he received a degree in communications and journalism. So please welcome Paul.
Thank you, Sophie. And thank you for including us in this panel. I guess if I could just give a little bit of history on the small bars. It was back in 2007 when the license category first came into place. And that is really when the social landscape, as far as we see it, it's really changed Perth. Patrons, and it's important here, operators as well have really embraced the concept. You have 2 very innovative and creative operators up here, and if you look at all the small bars that are opening, which currently we have roughly around 50 in the state, they're all run by extremely passionate, well-traveled people, and who a lot of times are very hands-on operators as well. And what small bars have done is really follow a world trend. A lot of times people look to compare, I guess, how do we compare to Melbourne and that scene? And I guess that's good from a reference point, but I think in a lot of ways, Perth small bars lead, and not just in Australia, but even world trends. I just spent some time in Europe back in September, and you saw all throughout, there's a lot of small bars there, and a lot of the things that are happening in Perth, I think we're even ahead of that market. So as I said, Perth has some of the best. If you go down to Gary's Place at $3.99, you can get a specialized cocktail, or you could enjoy premium wine at Paul's Place in his al fresco area, and at the same time you could enjoy a burger from next door from Flipside. Or you could go to the Greenhouse, which is located straight in the city, and it's really, that's a world-class venue embracing an alternative concept. So what makes Perth small bars so unique, as I said before, are really the leaders and the people that run them. These people are extremely passionate, and these days, let's face it, it isn't that easy running hospitality businesses. There's a lot of challenges. There's a lot of legislation, so you need a lot of passion. And the people that do this definitely have it. So there's no doubt that the small bar culture is here to stay. It's here to stay for the long term. And we at the AHA, or the Hotels Association, we've been extremely excited by how the sector's growing and coming along. It adds diversity, choice, and it's important to remember it does it not just for locals that get to come and experience this, but it demonstrates to overseas guests the quality of the venues that we have to offer throughout Western Australia, and for today in particular in the Perth area. Thank you, Sophie.
Thank you very much. The next person that I have to introduce is Gary Beadle, who's already been semi-introduced by Paul. Gary is the co-owner of two very well-known small bars, Bar 399, which is in William Street in Chinatown, as well as 5 Bar in Beaufort Street, Mount Lawley. Since emigrating to Western Australia from the UK, Gary has received national recognition as the name behind some of Perth's most influential and even game-changing venues, such as Lux Bar. Gary has brought European bar culture to Western Australia and was recognised in Bartender Magazine's nationwide Top 50 Most Influential list in 2009. So please welcome Gary Beadle.
It doesn't sound like me, to be honest with you. I haven't prepared anything to say to you, but I was just going to talk about what I feel about small bars and stuff like that, and hopefully we can get to the question part quicker, because otherwise, from my point of view, it's more about you guys embracing this in the same way for me, like small bars is about the customers, and it doesn't work without the customers or doing stuff that people want. I guess the small bar thing is giving an opportunity to people that wouldn't necessarily be able to get into doing business for themselves. When you have just the big venues and stuff, there's a lot of money involved, and you've got these big supermarkets that didn't buy them all. So, you know, I've been in hospitality 26 years, and if it wasn't for this license category coming up, being in Perth, I don't think there would have been an opportunity for me to be a venue owner unless I, you know, bumped into a millionaire and he lent me some money. I find it very harsh when we get compared to Melbourne and stuff, and people walk into your bar and they say, oh, it's like a Melbourne bar. Well, it's not. It's a Perth bar. I've lived in Melbourne, nice enough place. Nice that there's some sunshine, I suppose. And I think the bars here are reflective of our culture, which is much more of a Mediterranean sort of culture than this we want to be a European culture that they have over there. You know, if you want to live in Europe, just go back to Europe. It's not what we're here for, is it? So I think the small bar scene here is very much reflective of the humans that are in Perth, and that's probably the most exciting thing or the most enjoyable thing about it, is that it's definitely a reflection of the culture of the people here. We have customers, I don't know if I'm allowed to actually say this, but from 1 year of age up to 80 years of age, and having that variety of people. And you know, I had an old guy, maybe not so old, having his 40th school reunion at the bar, and yeah, a young guy, so yeah, very young. I don't even know how old he was, but they 40 years ago they were at school. I don't know how old that made him. And he was sitting there having a martini, and his mate was having a hot chocolate, and then his other friend was having something to eat. And I think that's what it's about for me, is that everyone can do whatever they like, but still be social. Whereas the bigger venues, you know, nothing wrong with them, but they're very much targeted towards, you know, that 18 to 25-year-old audience. And it's kind of exclusive. I mean, someone said to me when I first moved to Australia, it's a country for young people. And it was set up like that. The going out was set up like that. But I think it's changed. You know, now it's something for everybody. The direction of it, I guess that's up to us, all of us. You know, if the people go and enjoy it, then it'll go down the direction of evolve. If people don't go and support it, then it'll die out. But I don't think it will. I hope it doesn't, as people start to live more in the cities a little bit or closer, and we have smaller houses with not such big gardens and stuff. I think my first experience of Australia was big gardens and barbecues and stuff like that, but now you've got more people that socialise in these areas. So it's creating, for me, we grew up with pub gardens where everyone in the family and all your friends would meet at that place, so it was a social meeting place. The fact that you could get booze there was a bonus, to be honest with you. Makes me very sad that Sophie got to 16 before she thought about going to a pub. I mean, my son's 6 weeks old and he's been in more bars than Sophie got the sound of it. Really, that's what I'm going. I'm not going to ramble on, so I'll just say that, and then maybe we can just get to the questions sooner rather than later. That's my bit for now. Thanks.
Our next panellist is Jane Corns, who is contributing food and wine editor for Stoop magazine. I'm sure you will have read